WBISLP 1069, Winterville, Ayden, Grifton, Southside, Greenville, North Carolina.
You've been a constant friend indeed. You were right there, providing for me.
Good morning. Good morning. You're listening to us on 106.9 FM on your radio dial. Real talk for real men. All right. And I am Pastor Tremaine Forbes of Kingdom of Heaven Ministries of Greenville, North Carolina. And I have with me
Pastor Dan Lawson, United Gospel Outreach, Kinston, North Carolina.
And I also have
Elder Farrow, Kingdom of Heaven Ministries in Greenville.
All right. So we have some, we're in a current year. We're about to go out into the new year. So we might talk a little bit today about some of the things going on. I found a post that I'm going to read later. It got a whole lot of response out of it. And then we'll just talk about that a little bit. But we've had a very interesting year. This year we see ourselves, we progressed through COVID. Can't really say we came out of it, but we progressed through it. Seems like now we have I think they call it a tridemic, being RSV, COVID, and the flu. And we have a lot of things going on now. We had the Queen of England to die this year. We've had a whole lot going on. What are some things y'all recall that just happened this year that was of significance?
Well, I agree that the pandemic, even though we had already started coming out of it, that the outlook was real bright as we entered 2022. I'm wondering what it's going to be like as we enter 2023 with what's going on in China.
Yeah.
So that's certainly a hot topic. I like to look at, when we talk about, events, I like to look at it in terms of, first of all, the church. Did anything significant happen, in the church, in the church world? I know there was a lot of talk about the whole T.D. Jakes' daughter adoption thing. We struggled through that. I think that's pretty much over now. I don't know how they settled it, but it sounds like it's off social media now.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know of any other, super highlights.
Well, he did also pass on the baton to his other daughter.
That's right.
For Woman Thou Art Loose.
Yeah.
And some people act like he just passed her everything in his ministry. No, it was a major facet of his ministry and how he came to be known by the world by passing that on. But he passed that on, so that was very interesting.
Yeah, that was. Mm-hmm. And of course, the Pope is having health problems now.
Yeah, the Pope Emeritus. Not the Pope they have now, the one that was behind him.
Oh, the ex-Pope.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
The one that retired, the first Pope that ever retired.
Oh,
Benedict.
So the one that's in the office now, who is the Pope now, he's not having any health problems. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. All right. I just saw that highlight. I didn't click on it, but I saw that highlight. So
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. So and then you got sports. Always, highlights and headlines for sports, and but politics is dominating everything. I mean, you've got some morons that we send to Washington now that they're going to keep things going.
Oh,
they make it their business to stay in the, that's their whole, that's the sum of their talents and abilities is to keep their face in the headlines.
Well,
and we can name quite a few that's been doing that.
Well, and we got to get Elder in the conversation, but we got George Santos who lied about
Oh,
some of
man.
everything.
That was terrible right there.
I mean, everything from family, being Jews running from the Holocaust to you name it. I only got
Well,
time
he said
to-
if Trump can do it and become president, why can't he do it?
well, touche. Elder.
No, that's a good point. I think that's an excellent point. We've just had an attack. It's just been a constant attack. It didn't start in 2022, but it just continued on in 2022 with the attack on truth. You know, it's like, you know, the issue isn't right and left. It's truth and fault. You know, true or false. You know what I'm saying? And we just see an upside down world in a lot of things, especially politics. But I actually think that the January 6th Commission did an excellent job of presenting and exposing what happened on January 6th and before, and how it came to be, and it's still being exposed now because they've released the transcripts, you know, and released everything to the public, so nobody can say they hiding something. They just put it all out there, which I think is a good thing. I think people need to see this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And if they hadn't put it out there, then that would have left it open for people to speculate. Sports, we got an interesting. It's going to be an interesting NFL playoff thing going on. I think we ended a good note in Greenville. They won their bowl. They put up 53 points. I think that was a good note to end for the Pirates to end on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a nice game.
Yeah,
They played very well.
We got to slow down on that. Y'all going too fast now. Y'all can't smoke this turkey too quick. But
well, I just wanted to,
I appreciate it. And I think Holton Ellis is he's getting ready to just going on out, and he's going to declare for the the draft for the NFL.
Well, I think 5 years is enough.
Yeah. Hey, give us another year.
The thing is, who's coming behind him? That's going to be a big question mark.
Yes, it is.
Because he is one of the primary reasons for the success that they have. Albeit it wasn't a whole lot in my view. It wasn't a whole lot. This past year was the best in a long time.
No. You got to remember last year too. They were going to a bowl game last year. Just COVID intervened.
Yeah, but this year was better than last year, I think.
Of course, as you get older, he should get a little better.
Yeah, and also the running back. That running back was a very large part of their success. It was number 2, I believe.
Yeah.
He is super.
Yeah.
And will he be coming back?
That's a good question.
So I think So now are they going to start all over again and have a 3-8 season?
They got quite a few people on that team.
I think they've done some pretty good recruiting.
Yeah.
One of the good things about a bowl, and it gets you playing nationally. That game was on ESPN.
Yeah.
So the more exposure you get, the more it helps recruiting. I think my man has been a pretty good coach. The coach. Yeah. I think their defense was halfway decent too. They played some pretty good teams. I think their schedule was a pretty good, decent, strength in their schedule. So it's been a good year for them.
Yeah, I think we would have had another bowl last year. I feel it in my heart. There would have been another bowl. Yeah. I just kind of hate that the young men didn't have that, but I'm grateful that this year they did have it.
How about the HBCU colleges? That was a big deal.
You going to sneak North Carolina Central in there now?
Well,
man, I was so excited for them too.
It was a big year for HBCUs altogether. I think Deion Sanders had a lot to do with that, but they've been getting a lot of social media and television time this year more than any other year that I can remember. And it was central, but not just central. It was Dion's team, but not just Dion's team. There were a lot of schools that got a lot of exposure, and a lot of people began to see, what that, area of football, was like.
Mhm.
But we're gonna have to talk about the Ukraine war too, right?
Yeah, we definitely gonna have to talk about that.
I'm gonna say one thing. I thank you for saying that, what you said, and I think Dion was I really hated to see people trash him because of his decision. That's his decision. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I think he did what he said he would do, and he also shined light on HBCUs.
Mhm.
Not just Jackson State, but the
Yeah,
whole
he
thing,
did.
just because of his name. So that I think that's a big deal. But the war in Ukraine, it's going. I think Russia's just Putin. These people that I see in America who seem like they back him for some reason. People in our government, we've never seen that before.
Never.
Republicans have always been anti-Russia, this and that. Now all of a sudden, a lot of these people, and I hate to make it a partisan, but it is a partisan thing. That thing is going on, but I think he's losing on the ground, but he's trying to destroy their morale. But it's not happening. You know what I'm saying? Not at the moment. I think they're winning on the ground. And it's also highlighting the fact that his military is not what everybody thought it was.
I'm telling you.
If Russia was to fall, and I know this is a stretch,
Mhm.
but it's becoming possible now, more possible than what anybody would have ever thought. The Russian regime could possibly fall as a result of this, and they of course they would still exist, but not the Russia that they are today.
It wouldn't be so fearful. People when Russia, at the beginning, I thought it was kind of odd and funny, but they were like, "Hey, we're gonna put some nuclear bombs out," and then President Biden said that'd be a bad day.
Well, if they're going to have to negotiate this, they're not going to come out of this easy. Remember, there are sanctions against them. Their economy is crumbling, and now their military is exposed. I mean, they've lost over 100,000 soldiers, and their military's got cracks and holes in it.
Yes.
The only thing right now that makes them a threat is that they have nuclear weapons. Not used them yet. Hopefully they won't.
Yeah.
But that still makes them a super threat.
Right.
But if you take away the nuclear situation, Ukraine has exposed Russia's military strength.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that when this is all over, they're going to have to take a lot of concessions to negotiate terms of peace.
I don't understand why they don't just say, "Hey, look, we defeated the Nazis." They need to go and say that, and we're moving on. Because anytime you got people, you had 1 million people running out your border trying to get away from you. Come on, your country. The men are trying to leave.
Your support, the strength of your support, is trying to get away from you because they see that you're killing them privately. People falling off tall buildings in other countries because of their connection with Putin, and Putin see them as now traitors. And all of a sudden they're dying and disappearing, even though they're not even in Russia. They're in other countries. They're being killed accidentally, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I think everybody knows what's going on.
Well, I think he has crossed the line in so many different ways because they've committed so many war crimes, the Russian soldiers, and he's trying to use energy as a weapon. You know what I'm saying? Not trying to. He's using energy as a weapon. He's attacking their infrastructure. So I think a lot of this stuff that he's doing is really against civilians. It's not really a war against warriors. He's losing the war against the warriors, but he's attacking the civilians.
And now his people are suffering too. So.
Huh?
And now his people are under attack too because of the drones that are flying in there.
Well, and it's a mess, and it's all because of what this one guy wants to do.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that we see when one person tries to run everything, that autocracy. So that's something we got to look at, because we had a guy that was trying to get there.
And it seemed like our country was
he didn't get there.
That's true.
That's the sad part. Good morning, Pastor May. Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah, he's part of that old Soviet Union regime, and he always had a problem with the way the Soviet Union took a lesser role when they gave up a lot of their sovereignty over some of those neighboring countries. Right. He always thought that was weakness and it should have never happened. So based on his ideology, Ukraine would not have been the only country that he would have went after. Oh, yeah. Poland would have eventually been one of those countries also. Yeah. So and he still have that old school mindset, whereas a lot of people in Russia want to modernize and enjoy the wealth, you know, but you can't even enjoy the wealth when somebody has this kind of mindset. You can't enjoy your life because he's making it miserable for everybody.
Well, they say he might be the richest man in the world. Might be, because of how he got the financial pieces put together.
Yeah, he might be, but he can't even right now. He can't even move around.
No, nobody wants you coming to the country now.
Nobody wants you, and you are at risk of somebody blowing your brains out because you're causing so many problems for forcing people's sons to go to war untrained.
That's
some mother, might pull out a pistol and shoot him.
That's why he sit. That's why he sit at that long table at one end.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I want to, while we're on this subject, I want to give our president some props. I think he's done a good job of bringing the Europeans and the other parts of the world together, bringing them together, NATO and that whole deal, and I think he's done a good job with that, so I think he deserves some props on that, in leading that. And keeping that unity within,
you're right,
the European thing. So I think that's something to be looked at too. And I just think we got a lot of stuff going on, and 2023 is going to be interesting with the House. And the shenanigans that's on the way. It's going to be kind of interesting to see. That's all I'm going to say about that. Well, as far as conversation, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, they are a lot of wars that are going on within the Christian enterprise. They're not way up there in social media, but if you look for them, you can learn a lot about the different facets of Christianity. And now they have become very bold at calling each other out, running each other down, trying to paint dirt on each other. A lot of mud fighting going on in Christianity. I think that's something very important to be looking at.
You know what I'm going to say? Can I say something about that? I mean, I know the pastor was going to get it. Just say
30 seconds.
30 seconds. I think this whole idea of what people are using the word Christianity, we probably get into that a little bit later. I ain't going to, it's more than a 30-second thought.
You could have kind of explained a little bit of it. Okay, let's move on. So, and maybe you can bring it back into one of the next segments. But we're talking about things that happened this year, and we're also talking about moving on into the next year today. And you're listening to us on Real Talk for Real Men on Awesome Radio 106.9 FM on your radio dial. And we just thank you. Come on in. This is our last show. Maybe you want to get some comments in. You can call us at 252-756-2008. We'll see you in a moment.
When should a church consider formally filing what's called 501c3 recognition? Stay tuned.
The Legal Alert. Here's attorney David Gibbs Jr.
Under federal law, churches are automatically exempt from federal income tax under Section 501c3 without having to file anything. Let me repeat that. Churches are automatically exempt from federal income tax under Section 501c3 without filing any forms. Nevertheless, there are instances when a church may benefit from formal IRS recognition. There may be a grant for which the church wishes to apply, or a large donor that is requiring a letter from the IRS, or a government agency requiring a tax-exempt number for some program or incentive. Whatever the case may be, our attorneys can help advise your church on the cost and benefits of becoming formally 501c3 recognized so that you can decide which approach is best for your ministry. Remember, churches are automatically exempt and do not have to apply.
Hope that perspective is helpful for your ministry. And if you've got more questions, why not link up with an attorney at our website, christianlaw.org. That's christianlaw.org.
Hi, this is LaManda. You're listening to Awesome Radio 106.9.
Surely in the family, God is with me. Surely in the family, God is with me. Surely in the family, God is with me.
All right, we're back after that sponsorship break. Elder, you back. Elder, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you wanted me to finish my thought?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just think the influx, the way money, the way this whole thing is set up, the system, and how people use the idea of being quote unquote Christian, it's being used to promote politics, to promote money, to promote all kinds of different things instead of what it should be, the way we live. So I think there's a lot of that going on. And so when somebody says they're a Christian, I look at social media sometimes. When I see that in the profile, my antenna goes up because they got to announce, I'm a Christian. Okay. And then they say something hateful or something really anti-Christian. So I think we got to really be careful when people announce that. We need to see what they do more than what they say.
Good. That is so true, Elder. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna take a hard pivot. I saw something on social media yesterday, and this young lady put this out there, and I'm gonna read it. She's totally away from this area, but I want to read it, and then we're gonna talk about it. Listen, I have a question. Am I wrong for only needing my husband for certain areas of our marriage? For example, he said he depends on me for everything. And I told him I don't depend on him all the times because I know how to handle situations on my own. Building credit, paying bills, and hustling to make sure we don't go without. He doesn't like that I'm in survival mode and I don't need him for certain things. I don't want to solely depend on him, especially if he can't solely take care of us right now. I don't know if that was a great example, but that's been a debate in our marriage recently. And she got over 743 comments, and 288, likes, dislikes, whatever. But her point, and the she had her whole point was she pretty much was saying that her husband said that he needed her, and she told him, I ain't gonna say she didn't. She said she did need him, but she did say I don't depend on him all the times because I know how to handle situations on my own. What do y'all think about that? What do you? I personally went on, and I'll tell you my take on it. I went and told the young lady, hey, look, you're wonderful, you're brilliant, you got it together. I said, but you don't want to communicate to your husband that you don't need him. So and 200, I think she got she got 743 comments off that. And some men were upset, some women were saying, hey, I understand you, and different things. But I think, what do y'all think now? Cause the show is a talk show for men. What do y'all think about the hyper need to people in a marriage to tell their spouse? We could broaden it out, and men in particular, that they don't need them.
Well, when I think about marriage,
I ain't gonna say don't need them. Don't depend on them.
When I think about marriage and the way people try to counsel and teach people about their marriage, I don't like the idea that some folks seem to think that there is a one-size-fit-all marriages.
It's true,
and that's not true. That's not true. And every marriage is just like, is individual, it's unique. Every marriage is unique. What works for one couple may not work for another. There are a lot of reasons that people get married. And I don't think that that you can condemn people for why they get married.
right?
Sometimes people say that people get married for the wrong reasons. But if that union works, then it works.
Right.
When you look through the Bible and you look through the history of marriage, you find that there have been so many different reasons people get married.
Yeah, that's true.
And there are different facets and how people get married. Now we consider ourselves to be modern today.
Right.
And we've got all of these modern views about that has to do with the rights of women versus men. Who should be the breadwinner, your money, my money, all kinds of things. When I counsel people about marriage, I try to focus on what works for them, not
good.
what worked for somebody else.
Yeah.
So if you tell me that there's a woman that wants to be independent, I know a lot of marriages where the wife is very independent, but it works.
Yeah.
It can work for a marriage where the woman is independent and not totally dependent upon the husband. I've seen marriages where the husband was dependent upon the wife, and it worked. Sometimes it don't, sometimes it does, but there's no one size fit all, And I think that there are some biblical principles that should apply to all marriages, but there is no one size fit all.
Now, one thing that's funny to me, I do know of a situation where there's a brother who he think he should be in control of the money because he's a man, and definitely don't. And he don't make all the money either, and don't make most of it either. And so, that is so true. Pastor May said that's good talk. But I when I read that, my issue was in the fact of her almost the independent part. And I don't mind. Look, hey, I think in a marriage, I think independence ain't always a good thing. I'm gonna be quite honest.
That's right.
I think it need to be interdependence. That there's a part we all play. But if you play a part a little better than I do, and it's nothing that's the Bible's got a kind of like contradictive, then I say work it out like you said. You can't put everybody in just throw everybody in and give them a quote unquote Martha Stewart type recipe and say this is how you eat it. This is how fried chicken supposed to taste. Well, Elder, you gonna say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I would think that people bring their own ideas into, just like you bring your own ideas into other relationships. They bring their ideas into marriage depending on how they grew up, what they saw as they were growing up. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I think they bring a lot of times they bring that into the relationship. And when you were first explaining it, it sounded more like the guy was coming from the old school, you know, in the sense like I was listening like before the 1970s, a woman couldn't get a credit card without the man. You know, and so things have no, but I'm just saying, you know, things have. I used the credit card, but there were other things too.
Go ahead, Elder, you doing good.
Yeah, there were other things that have evolved. You know what I'm saying? Where women have become more independent, and more able to use the system. So it sounded like an old school guy thinking from an old school perspective. You know what I'm saying? And he brought that into the relationship.
Well, what he said was he depend on her on everything, and the woman said, "I don't depend on you for much of anything." And then as I read it, he's in the military, and she's not, and she have a business and she work. And I told her it might not be too good to communicate to a man that's in the military and ain't with you all the time. I don't need you.
Well, see, that brings a whole new perspective into it too. Being in the military, yeah, he's depending on her because he's not there. And so I can see that, you know. So I like what Pastor Lawson was saying. It's that one size fits all doesn't.
That is good. And
doesn't really work.
You know? We'll be back after this message.
Partial funding for this program is brought to you by Blessed Hands Car Wash and Detail Plus, 2016 Chestnut Street, Greenville. Vehicle inspections, U-Haul rentals, spick and span hand vehicle wash and detail. That's Blessed Hands, 252-413-0609. Open Monday through Saturday, 8 o'clock a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. Blessed Hands Car Wash and Detail Plus, 2016 Chestnut Street, Greenville, 252-413-0609. Thank you, Blessed Hands Car Wash and Detail Plus, for your support.
Christian inspiration for the family and ministry, teaching for practical Christian living. Awesome Radio. Surely in the family, God is with me. Surely in the family, God is with me. Surely in the family, God is with me.
Praise the Lord. We're back on Real Talk for Real Men. This is our final segment. And I like what Elder was saying. Elder said he liked what Pastor Lawson was saying. And and it's so true because most marriage ministry that I've seen or heard, they come from the perspective of this is how you do it. The wife do this part, the husband do this part. The wife should cook and clean, but some the truth be told, some men cook better than a lot of women. I can say most women, but there's some men that's chefs, and that's their job. And then sometimes people that do cook, they don't want to come home and cook when they come home. But the best thing to do is to act and operate as one. Pastor Mason said, when I met my wife, she was already independent. So sometimes I see her trying to do that, and I'm okay with that, and we still make it work.
I like that.
Yeah, that's good. And just you don't want to mess up the ecosystem. Make sure that's why a lot of times people think that marriage ministry is overrated, and some people think that going into premarital counseling is overrated. But sometimes that's where you can really see what the person is thinking and what somebody isn't thinking. I'm glad we got a hot topic. We have a caller. Caller, you live and on the air.
But baby, you really got a hot topic today. I tell you, you all burning for Christmas and you're ready for the new year. It's a variant situation. In another 2 months, I'll be married for 66 years.
Good gracious. That's awesome.
And with 7 children, my wife has never worked a job for an income since we've been married. And because I served in the military, but I was able somehow, by the blessing in God, that I was able to handle all the bills. My wife had never had to worry about writing the check or paying the bill. And so the 66 years we've been married.
That is so awesome.
It can vary in all kind of ways. I heard Pastor Lawson speaking back. It's different things, but where an old thing, but street people say it's different strokes for different people.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Can you give us a tip before you go, Brother Johnson, on having a good, strong marriage? Can you give us a tip?
Well, first thing, I had a cliche thing I use. I call it things. First thing is marriage is not what happened in the marriage, but what did not happen before the marriage. Did you have any concepts of ideas what each one would like to do? Now you're coming out now with a lot of professional women, and they really want to deal with what they went to school for.
That's true.
I didn't have that situation, and because I always knew when I was 15, 16 years, I already knew I wanted to marry my wife. And so, and then I knew, and I had said to him, before we got married, 20 years old, 21, something like that, I had said to her, look, first thing is, you want to have 6 children, now somebody got to be home. So either you have a job, or I have a job, because we end up with 5 girls and 2 boys. So, and all born, they raised in the city. And because Pastor Lawson lived in the city, how fast DC is. So when you got young girls and you were at work, and these boys pretty swift, they know when the man of some grown-ups not at home, they're going to find a way to get in there. So my wife was always at home. If she wasn't there for some reason or other, I was there. So it's a way of raising a family and keep them close together. But we got an understanding that, hey, you don't have to worry about any bills or anything, because I'm going to pay the bills. All you have to do is take care of the house and take care of the house and everything. And the other thing I learned early in life, getting married, is don't get involved with anything in the house how your wife wants to make the arrangement to do the cooking. Let your wife run the house.
Okay.
And that means you won't have any arguments about what you should go someplace or what blinds should be somewhere, what you need to cook. Let the wife run the house.
Okay.
Oh my.
We thank you for that comment.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
That's it. Take it out.
All right. Thank you.
Have a great New Year.
You too. Well, he told us what worked for him.
Yeah.
He told us what worked for him.
Well, there are some situations where, there are some situations where sometimes a man, because of his career, because of his situation, needs an independent wife. Suppose a man is handicapped. He can still fall in love and be married, but he's going to need an independent wife. He's going to need a wife that can get stuff done without him being able to help out
in physical ways.
Yeah.
And got a mind.
And a man, and like he said, he was in the military. If you're in the military and you make a career out of it, and you are away. Now, I know a lot of times military wives have the opportunity to live with their husband on the base, but that's not always the case.
Right.
And if that's not always the case, then that wife has got to be independent, got to be able to do everything that pertains to the household and raising the children because the husband is not going to be able to do it. So there is no one size fit all. I hear, marriage seminars talking about, making sure you hold the door for your wife. There's some women that don't appreciate it. Don't mean nothing to them for you to do that.
Now I'm gonna tell you that. See, and that's a good point. When I had all these kind of preconceptions when I married Crystal, and I was the guy that tried to run to the door, open the door for her. Joy, you ain't gotta open the door for me. Quite naturally, now when we start talking, I was 13. And her mama was like, "Hey, you let him do that, cause that might wear off." But opening doors, and I've heard people. My wife ain't never had to open no door. And I tried, and I ain't gonna feel diminished as a man, cause I kind of appreciate it when it's raining. You go get your door, I get my door. Let's get in the car.
Let me tell you another one that's just like that. They always talk about, flowers, perfume, and candies, that you should always eat that upon your wife. I started out doing that, and then one day my wife asked me how much did these flowers cost, and when I told her, she said, "Next time, give me the money." And I ain't bought flowers since.
Yeah.
I mean, why do stuff out of tradition?
Absolutely.
When it really don't work for you?
Absolutely.
If flowers don't work for her, she would rather have the $85, $90 that you're spending to get them. Then give her the 85 or 90. You're trying to make her happy. That's the purpose, right?
Yeah.
So why buy her flowers when she'd rather have money?
Yeah. Could you imagine not having to go to the mall? Your wife just said, "Give me the money."
Just give her the money.
Give me the money. That's my Christmas. I'll tell you what you got.
And then one year you tell us, flowers done got cheaper now. They don't cost $95. So here's $50. But anyhow,
Elder, we're gonna let you end that.
No, y'all doing good. I'm just I think the point is being made from your first point, Pastor Lawson. It's not a one size fits all.
No,
you
definitely
got to
not.
do what works and know your strengths and weaknesses, and understand hers. And I think the more you grow into it, the more, like you just said, that was a good point. Over the years, you learn.
That's right.
And so you're learning each other over the time. So I think that's where it comes in at.
That is so true. Now I want to do something. I'm trying to get some women responses. I guess I won't get them, but let me try this one. How to treat a guy. Are you looking for ways to make your man feel like a king? Showing your guy love and appreciation will make him feel special and help strengthen your relationship. And there are all kinds of ways to do it. So I'm going to read just the liners. It said, number one, being there for him. And then number two, trust him. Number three, make him feel good. Yeah, this is a men's show, so this is how we're gonna do it. Be a good listener. We need good listeners. Boost his ego. I always found it true. Men love cheerleaders. I'm gonna move on from that. So boost this brother ego. Let him know he can count on you. Treat him well. Be honest. Be kind. Be loving. Yeah, these are ways you can treat a man. Be spontaneous. I will take them on one at a time. Be loyal. Do nice things for him. Plan a fun date. Y'all always want us to be, I want you to plan something nice. Now you plan it, and we're going to show up. Cook for him. Give him a massage. So this is how we want y'all to better support us next year. I figure now the phone number to call is 252-756-2008. Gentlemen, go ahead. Pastor May said, he said right. He joined us in.
I don't know about that. Just telling a woman to just trust your husband. I don't. Everything else you said,
we married. Sense. You might as well trust me. You trust me.
No, I don't. I think trust has to be earned. I think you can start out with faith. I'm gonna have faith in you, okay? But history is going going to determine whether or not I trust you. Your history.
All right,
you know.
explain it.
Well, because there are some men that they're not worthy of trust.
Today's this talk show is for Men Day.
I understand that.
Yeah. But go ahead.
I like for men to be upfront and honest.
All right, go ahead.
And I want men to acknowledge that if you're not trustworthy, then nobody should counsel your wife to trust you. If you're not trustworthy.
So then what happens to the point, and I might toss the ball to Elder because you're very combative today. But no, I'm kidding. No, what happens, now you said trustworthy. What happened to the brother that says, I'm the head? Elder, you answer that.
Say that again?
What happens when a brother, he thinks biblically he's the head of the family, and then you say, you got to be able to trust him?
Yeah, see. I think now you're veering off into a whole nother. You're going into that old school thing again.
Yeah,
that misinterpretation of being the head of the family thing. I think a lot of brothers fall off track using that. You know what I'm saying? I'm the man. I'm the. Yeah, we get all that, but I don't think that means exactly what a lot of people thinks it means. You know what I'm saying? You're the head, yeah, but there's a whole lot that goes with that. It's not just I'm the head. You got to be willing to do some things because you're the head. And
I think you're right, Elder. A lot of people don't know what that means. You got to read that whole scripture where it talks about the man is the head of the wife.
That's right.
The man, and I'm going to say this, and I know that some people are not going to understand this, but I'm going to say it because I think this is the way the scripture should be interpreted. You're the head if Christ is your head. But if Christ is not your head, you can't be a head. Who's going to trust you if Christ is not your head? Now, I know that all marriages are not in the faith, okay? But right now I'm talking about the faith. If the man is the head of the woman, like Christ is the head of the church and the head of that man. You see what I'm saying? Because then it can work. But you can't be my head if every time I turn around you going over a cliff, and I don't want to go. I do not want to go over a cliff.
That's good.
So I got to detach myself in order to save my own life. Every time I turn around, I'm in a situation where I got to detach myself from you in order to save my whole life.
Then who becomes my head? If I'm supposed to be the head, then who becomes the head?
I have to look to Christ, and I have to ask the Lord, Lord, let me be the head for. Give me a temporary pass to be my own head.
Well, the Bible says, "Follow me as I follow Christ."
Yeah,
and then the scripture a lot of people don't say is there's a scripture that comes right before it start telling men to love his wife and some women to submit to her husband. The scripture says submit one to another.
That's right.
There's a few verses before you can even get to it.
You got to put the whole thing together.
Yeah, you got to put the whole thing together. You you can operate a television with telephone hang. I mean, what was it? Remember back in the day, you didn't have the so then you take the clothes hanger and stick.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it might function, but it ain't right. We have Brother Ellison. He says, pastors that single shouldn't be an example because they single. So how can they preach family? Well, they can preach. Well, you got to remember that Paul was single. Paul in the Bible actually was single, and he probably taught more about marriage than any of the other people in the Bible. I get your point, but you don't have to always be so. You can be. There are single people that know how things should function. So,
I'll give you an example.
Understanding.
Go ahead, Elder, and then we'll go back.
I was just going to say, understanding something has nothing to do with whether you do it or not.
Thank you.
A mailman can deliver mail for the FBI and not be an FBI agent.
That's true.
So a preacher can deliver mail for God, and not necessarily have experience in that area. He can tell you what God says about marriage, even if he's never been married. I've never been dead, but I preach about heaven all the time. I've never been there.
I understand.
But I preach about it.
Right.
You see, so you can't always use that, he's not a good counsel on this subject.
Right.
because he's not a married man
Right.
himself.
Though, yeah,
I understand the point.
We understand your point, because you can know something and not experience.
That's right. You can.
I can know things and not experience different things.
You know something that I learned. I saw this. One of the preemptive men that taught and wrote about management, and I happened to get a chance to meet him, Peter Drucker. And I saw where he wrote sometime, and somebody asked him, "Are you a good manager?" He said, "No."
Yeah.
But he understood it to be able to teach it and write about it. So
and to make it and to bring that clear, there's nobody that has influenced modern business more than Peter Drucker.
Yeah, that's true.
He has taught people stuff about business for years, because he understands the math. He understands the mathematics, the equations, the formulas, and all that part. But he might have to let somebody else that he taught do the work.
Yeah, because he's also been as much an impact on business education in colleges and universities as he has had in actual business activities.
I literally can count the different business. Most of the business books I had taught about it. Taught from his perspective. Pastor May says your priority must be in line with God first, then your wife. I like that. Yeah, first things first.
Also,
okay.
You go ahead first.
I was just going to say, a lot of people that take that particular passage of scripture out of context, a lot of those guys end up being abusers because they want to dominate, and it's not about that.
Yeah.
And I do one thing I can see what he's saying. Okay, then he says, well, we'll have to read him a little later, because we only got 1 minute and 30 seconds. What are y'all ending thoughts for this coming into the new year?
Real quickly, 2023. I really believe that for myself, it's going to be a time of a lot of new revelation and understanding from the Lord as it pertains to the church and to the saints. That's what I'm looking forward to in 2023.
Elder?
I'm just looking for progression, to move forward. And I'm looking forward in my personal life and in the church that we're a part of.
That is awesome. And well, we want to tell y'all listeners that we've had for 2022. We love you, we care about you, and we thank God for you. The show wouldn't be what it is without you. Your forms of expression, your listening, your support. And we're looking forward to the show moving on in 2023. This has been Real Talk for Real Men, and it still is Real Talk for Real Men on 106.9 FM on your radio dial. We believe, God, that the heavens are going to open up for you, and then God is going to do something new and refreshing in your life. God bless you, and we love you, and we'll talk to you later. Happy New Year's to all of you.